welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket.
So I have this theory that, and you can tell me if like you agree or you've heard it before too or whatever, but I have this theory that every 7 years or so, the universe, whoever runs it, whatever powers that be that are in control of the whole thing or whatever, every once in a while, every 7 years, the universe will sort of pop up, make its presence known, and remind you that it is still in charge, that there is something else bigger than you that is running this town tonight. And that has been, I guess, arguably the entirety of 2024 for me, but for sure this summer. It's been absolutely insane. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, and not in like crazy ways, right? Like not in like karmic retribution ways, because A, my karma rating is great. Thank you very much. But two, it wasn't anything that was life ruining, you know? But it was all a lot of stuff that just took a ton of time and my efforts and my attention. And so it was just nuts. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit on a members stream or a members video where I was telling, you know, where I've been and everything, but it's just one thing after another. And I have a ton of those stories to share with you, but I don't know that we can necessarily do that here. So maybe I won't do that. But there are a lot of stories. It's crazy. From roofs and maples falling onto roofs and lightning striking trees and cars and then new cars and then another car that just lots with that and house stuff and monsoons and school stuff. My children are currently being stalked by like a 70-year-old woman. That's not a joke. It's really creepy. So that's fun. Lots of stuff going on with the new school and the, you know, middle school and the stuff, and it's a lot. And then, of course, running the soap shop, which I would like to first off just say the soap apprentices have held it down for the past few months. I mean, it's been absolutely, my schedule's already crazy anyway, so I'll just go in at like 4 o'clock in the morning, get stuff done, and then I usually come back. But for the last several months, it's been, there's no coming back. And so I'm just looking at the list of the stuff they need. I'm getting it prepped and ready to go. And we're just kind of passing like ships in the night. You know, it's been a lot. As I said, I'm tired. My body is physically exhausted. It's been crazy. And then every time that I come over here to film, something happens. The camera won't work. Like it won't be recognized by my stupid computer. Or it will be working and I'll film something. And then I will come back to like hit record or end on the thing, and I'll find that I either didn't hit record, just looked over there to make sure that I had record on, or that the camera itself had just stopped producing a feed. And so then I would get really frustrated and go, I don't have time for this. I can't figure out any of this. And I would just leave. Or my editing software, I used DaVinci, it would need an update that was going to take a million years. Or then there was OBS, and then it was just lots. And I had all this other stuff to deal with. So when my body wasn't physically tired, I tried to do this, and then the tech did the things. Anyway, lots of stories that I could tell, and I'll probably tell as, you know, we go on or whatever, but we are back, baby. And I am excited to tell you what we are doing today because it's going to be awesome. Probably. I don't know. You're going to have to be patient with me because I haven't done this for a while. And so I need to get my feet under me again. But I will tell you what we are doing and making and all the things in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. Boom. Nailed it. I can remember. I can do this. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And you are supposed to be back for Project Soapway Soapy Things, this last thing that I said that I was going to do when I went on a break that was supposed to be a week, and then it turned into like a month, and then I don't even know the last time that I've uploaded anything. It's been pretty crazy. And so because of that, A lot of stuff has been backed up. I have a lot of stuff filmed, and then also the submissions and all the video footage from the Project Soapway winners for the last challenge. And it's all really confusing for me. I don't exactly know what I've done and what I haven't done, but I did get the new scent collection from Sierra Candles, and I thought, okay, so while I'm figuring out this mess of videos, this mess of footage, and what's going on with all of that, let's do a scent test. Let's do scent testing within soaps. We can talk about my process for testing new scents that I'm not familiar with or whatever, and building a line around the new scents. And so I thought that would be fun, considering Sierra Candles had again sent me some samples of their new winter collection. I guess it would be the winter collection. I'm not really sure. I'm using it some for fall and for winter. So there's 6 new scents that I'm playing with today. And so what I really want to talk about within this video is, first up, obviously what you should do when you get new scent testers or a new scent, new fragrance or whatever, and looking it up and getting all that information, how you should be documenting it, all the things, but also what you can do to not only lean into a scent that might discolor or what have you, but also probably most important, looking at the cat ratings and what percentage of fragrance you should be using for whether it's your sample batches or your full-size batches within the soap. And so I'm just going to give you the whole thing today. We're going to go, this showed up at my doorstep, these new scents, to the design. And so we'll be looking at the recipe, we'll be looking at the different scents, we'll be looking at their soaping notes, and we will be getting everything together, building the recipe around the soaping notes, etc. and so forth. Show you my process, and maybe you can pick up some cool tips and tricks or whatever along the way. If you can't and you're just happy to, be back at Soap and Clay and hear me ramble about maybe nothing, that's awesome. Like, that's the coolest thing ever, And so whatever, we're going to go have a good time, and like I said, get my feet wet or under me or whatever all of the idioms are that relate to this, now. Okay, so we have 6 new scents to try out with Sierra Candles. And first up here is the Candied Juniper Berry with a vanillin content of 2.8. Now, usually what I do with all of this, we also have the Crisp Cedar Grove, no vanillin content. So I love that for me. And what else are we working with? Now, what do we have? Winter Solstice. Oh my God, just spoiler. This one's awesome, but it has a vanillin content of 1. And then we have the Pistachio Amaretto with a vanillin of 0.35. And the Midnight Vanilla Oud, something, 3.95 of vanillin content. And then finally, the Cran Apple Harvest with 0.35 vanillin content. Now, usually what I do with all of these is, first up, I'm going to give them a sniff and make some notes about whether or not I like what it smells like, all of the things. And I'm currently working on a Moons line. Now, the reason why I wanted to do a Moons line is because I wanted to make round soaps. It had been a while since I'd put round soaps outside of just like shaver bars or shampoo bars in my line, and I was in the mood to use my columns. Also, it's very important for me to be able to use as many different types of my molds as possible for just general everyday making of things, because I have a lot to make. You know what I mean? And so if I can put some stuff in the actual column molds, all the better. Now, for this, I'm going down to the soaping notes. It says no acceleration, rising, or discoloration, beautiful scent retention. So that's good to know. It looks like this Pistachio Amaretto is going to be a very good thing to use for, realistically, my Christmas line. Because my holiday line, I hate that so many of the really nice, like sugary type scents or whatever, so many of them discolor. Or a peppermint, like a candy cane. It's so hard to find a candy cane that doesn't discolor, And so I'll probably save this for the holidays. And since it's pistachio amaretto, but it has really good almond scents, like a cherry almond, can totally do something fun with that. This one is a really strong, really sweet, bright cran apple. I smell more sweetness than I do apple in all of it. And it does say that it discolors to a light tan. So I can also use that probably within my holiday line. This Crisp Cedar Grove or Apple Grove, whatever, Very, very appley. I think I probably write that down. It's very, very appley. And this is an important thing for you to be doing, probably more, high tech. I'm very analog with all of it. So I'm writing down everything, in my notebooks. You should probably be saving these in places where you're not going to lose them. But look, I don't lose my notebooks. And every time that I try to get my stuff onto a computer, it just it messes with me. I end up not able to do it. So there is no acceleration, rising, or discoloration with all of this. So that means it can go whatever color I want. I can do however complicated of a pour I want. So that's good to know within these soaping notes. Granted, soaping notes can change based on how you soap and what your recipe is. Now, with this winter solstice scent, it is really, really like spooky and delightful. I really, really enjoy this scent a lot. And so I immediately knew that this one, even though it was called Winter Solstice, needed to go into my fall line because it just has that kind of witchy scent to it. I don't know how to describe it, but it's very, very, very nice. And the soaping notes actually will tell me. So it discolors to a light tan, so that's good to know. But it looks like we have some musk and some amber, some oak moss, some vanilla, and then, you have your brighter with the bergamots and whatnot. So it makes sense as to why I think that it's kind of spooky. We definitely have those musk and those amber tones in there. And then the candied juniper berry, 2.8 vanillin content. Now I'm second guessing everything. Did I put the candied juniper berry in my holiday line or in my fall line? I guess we're going to find out. At any rate, this is something that you should definitely do for all of your, scents or whatever before you even start soaping with them. Double check the soaping notes and write it down or type it out, put it in a file somewhere so you have that information. This is going to be especially important if, let's say, you go through all of the, the current fragrance that you have. And next year or 2 years from now, you're going through all your notes, trying to figure out what scents you want for your line for the upcoming season. And you don't have good information on X, Y, or Z, fragrance. And so being able to go back to your notes as far as what it smells like right out of the bottle, what it smells like after you have used it in soap, what percentage you used or whatever, if you don't have that information, you're essentially having to do this all over again. Because I've got a pretty good brain, like it holds a lot of stuff. But when it comes to the number of scents that we either use or, research, because we all do that, right? I'm not the only person on the planet that just goes onto the fragrance sites and just looks at all the fragrances and puts, 75 of them in my cart and then abandon ship, you know? It, I cannot be the only one that does that. And so it's good to have the actual notes. And so with this one, the Midnight Vanilla Ode, it looks like where I'm going to go with dark colors because it's going to discolor to a medium brown. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is vanilla plus leather because that's really what I get out of this. The Midnight Vanilla Ode is fine. It's fine. As far as what Sierra Candles makes, they have so many amazing scents. They have much, much better, like kind of sexier vanilla blends out there, like the Vanilla Embers. Oh my God, that one is so good. And in my memory, I don't think it discolors. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So yeah, it looks like pistachio, amaretto, and the Crown Apple Harvest. They're going to go to my holiday line. But now we are going to go formulate the recipe for these moon soaps based on the scent notes. Okay, so now that we know what we're working with, I want to show you what I'm working with, and it's right there. I kind of want to make all four of those moons, those different types of moons, in soap form. And so I need to obviously focus on the ones that are not going to discolor or are going to have very light discoloring for moon 1 and 3 up there. And then I can lean into the discoloration with the other two and also be thoughtful about where I place my scents. So there can be portions of my scent or my soap rather that doesn't get scented at all if I really need some brighter stuff within like that yellowy moon to the far right. And so that's what I'm taking into account while I decide between these four scents what bar gets what scent. And for this first crisp cedar, I decided to go with whites and pale blues. And I kind of want to do like a silhouette of a tree or something on it in black. So I will be working with that within the pour as well. Although, because I am going to be doing this in a test version, because Sierra Candles was awesome and they sent me testers of their new, holiday or fall, winter line, whatever it is. I only have an ounce to work with. So that means that I'm making about 6 bars. Like that's going to be the entire, that's going to be it. And so for that, I'm going to use a tray mold to make all of these. And I do need to make sure that whatever design I do can be redone in a column mold, because I need to be able to use my columns in order to actually hit the quantities that I need to make. So anything too complicated that involves top, designs, I need to probably stay away from. Although I guess theoretically, if I was in love with any of these designs and I really wanted to just do it in a tray because I was unable to do it in a column, I could do that for one of them, I suppose. I have, I think, 6 of the brambleberry, I think, with anyway, you'll see when we make, really. And so I guess I could theoretically do that. It would end up being like a 2 or 3 day process to get all of them done, but it could be done. But for the most part, I really would like to use my big PVC pipes, which is what I use for columns. It's just PVC pipe cut to size from Home Depot with an end cap, that you use for like plumbing or whatever. And I pour in there and then I stick it in the freezer after it's done with its saponification. And yeah, bang it out and it's good to go. Now, next thing that I do with all of this is I look up the percentage usage for all of the scents that we're working with. Now, the first one was sitting at like 7%. And then here in Cat 9, we have 15% for the second one. So that's good, because you're never under any circumstances going to be using your scent above 15%. You might, under some circumstances, use it above 7% though. So that's something to keep in mind. Always double check your cats for sure. You want to make sure that you're not putting anything in quantities that could irritate the skin. And in my experience, that's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to irritate the skin. And this one has 35%. Now, do you know what happens if you put 35% of your fragrance into your soap oils, your soap batter? It rejects a not insignificant percentage of it, the soap itself, because there's nothing to sort of, because the saponification and everything, we have the lye and the oils, right? And they're trying to form their new soap molecule, right? Everything else that's in it sort of gets bound up inside of this structure, this new structure that's been formed. And so you don't want to put too much in there because it will not get bound up. It'll instead have to be pushed out. And so it'll just be all the seepage, all the whatever. You've essentially used too much fragrance, which means you've wasted money. And nobody wants to do that. So yeah, I checked everything out, and based on this recipe, or based on all of these scents, since we don't have any weird discoloration, we don't have any weird ricing, acceleration that we're dealing with, we can go ahead and do kind of a stock standard. So my basic 3 mix, right? So we have coconut, palm, and olive basically in equal portions. Right now we're doing 38% of the water, and I want to actually look more into this fragrance rate, because we're looking at 0.5 ounces, and let's actually talk about what that means within all of this. So if we're doing the scent at 5%, I think it's just what I did, but scent at 3% would be 0.48. So that would be 0.5 ounces. So what soap calc just automatically does, like that's just the base, that's just the loaded whatever for the scent. So that's 3% of your soap calculated by the oil. It's very important to calculate your scent by oil weight, not by the entire weight of the batch. And so that's kind of a light scent if you're going at 3%. I usually go anywhere between 5 and 8%. And so at 5%, it looks like 0.8 ounces for 16 ounces of oil. And at 7%, it's at 1.12. 7 is the max amount that I can put in this because of this cap for the crisp cedar. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with 7% or maybe even 6%. In order to, because I also, probably 6% is what I'm going with. Also, I only have an ounce, right? I have a sample size of an ounce for this sample batch. And so 6% across the board for all of these will ensure that I get a really good smell from the finished product. So you're going to definitely be able to smell it. It's not going to it's not going to be too much scent, so it's not going to be seeping out. And I don't have to worry about any sort of potential irritants by the nature of using any of these scents above their recommended cat usage. And again, it's usually what happens. It usually it has something to do with a skin irritant more than anything else. And so you want to make sure that you are not putting in, usually like cinnamons and stuff are really, really very rough in soap making for sure. There's this one from, it's called like Witch's Brew or something from Nature's Garden. I loved this scent more than anything in the world. It smelled like a red hot, like a candy, like one of the red hot candies. And it has a really low usage rating. Back when I still had it in my inventory, it was like 2% maybe. And so you'd always have to blend it with stuff. And that got to be actually pretty complicated. So, as a general rule, I don't actually stock anything in my shop anymore that has a usage rating under like 5% or 7% because the apprentices, if they decide to design a new line and they don't look at the ratings or any of the notebooks or whatever and try to decipher my chicken scratch, it could be a tough time, you know? And so that might end up with a soap that's going to be irritating to the end user. And I love my sudsers. I love my customers. I don't want them to be irritated at me or their skin. Neither one of these things should be irritating, you know? Anyway, so that has been a general rule with me. I don't really stock anything that has too low of a usage rating. And it's worked out pretty well, except for when I remember that there are so many good scents out there that just have just this crazy low usage. It's very sad. But anyway, we are going to be, for these testers, putting together all of the lye solutions and getting everything ready because I want to do these all in one fell swoop. You know, these are sample, just test run batches. So again, 16 total ounces of oil within all of this, a 5% super fat. So it'll get us, I think, like 6 bars per, scent. And I want to be able just to bang them all out at the exact same time and see what comes of it. So what we will be looking for within the actual design or the making will be how much does it discolor? How, well, how strong is the scent when it's all said and done? And how complicated was the pour? Did this actually end up getting really thick and strange with my particular recipe? Because I do put so much kaolin clay into my soaps, I'm always running the risk of it potentially getting overly thick. And you've seen a lot of videos on the channel showing that. Like usually when I'm working with wines or beers, any sort of alcohols, it can get pretty thick pretty fast, even with the added water that I put into my soaps to sort of counteract the amount of clay that goes into them and make the pour easier. And so you can still end up with some rogue kind of weirdness going on. And so obviously do be cognizant of that within your own recipe. Even if the soaping notes say that it's not going to accelerate, it's not going to seize, it's not going to rise, it may still, based on the overall recipe blend that you have going on, your formulation. For this particular thing, again, it's the basic three. It's 3 very easy oils. I have worked with these 3 very easy oils in these exact percentages for over a decade. I know what they do. I can make really complicated swirls with these. I can thicken it up by, it's all about it's all about how you handle your stick. Because, if you're heavy handed with it and you over stir it, you over blend it, you're going to end up with thick soap, kind of no matter what those soaping notes say. And so always keep that in mind. But if you are working with more of a lighter touch and getting to an emulsion or a near emulsion for the advanced soap makers, then you can probably do any kind of complicated design. But that said, some fragrances will still throw you a curveball. And that is what I think most fragrance companies are talking about when they have soaping notes that says it rises or seizes. Like it rises or seizes immediately. And so talking about the things that I no longer stock in the soap shop anymore, I also don't stock many scents that rise or seize. There are a couple that are so good that I don't even care. And there are also a couple that are so needed because it's like a wholesale account, and so this is a scent that they've had in their line for a really long time. And I have to keep making it and it rises or seizes or, accelerates or whatever. And I have to work around it. just kind of is what it is. But for the most part, aside from those, I do not stock anything that's going to be temperamental. I will stock a lot of things that will discolor though, because I really like leaning into the discoloring and actually using that to my advantage within my soap designs. So that's what we will be doing for 2 of these soaps, and 2 of them we are going to keep on the lighter end. Now, this particular, all these lye solutions, ultimately, when I get around to this, when I actually make the soaps, they will all be cooled down to colder than cold. It's the winter time. You can see how clumpy and strange my soap oils are right there. You know, it's very, very cold in the shop at 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. I think this was around 6 a.m. You can go back and check my phone and see what time it was. But anyway, these particular oils, they were actually infused with a very interesting apple thing that I did. I did this content for, I mean, I've filmed so much stuff for everything, but it's been more having the time to actually sit down and edit the videos, because I obviously still have to make, I still, in this time that I've been gone, I still have to run my business. I still have to make the soaps. I still have to do the things. And so I have, sadly, like 3 or 4 months when it's all said and done, I think 3 of a full, this, because you know how for year 4 we've been doing the, every month it's going to be a deep dive into X, Y, or Z, you know, ingredient. I did a whole month on apple, and this is the product of it. That's what this master batch is. And so there's an apple infusion in all of these oils that are going into all of it. So I'm not going to do anything fun within the actual lye solution in addition to that. And so we're going to just have apple in all of them. I had originally decided to just do it in 2, but it's actually easier to do it this way. And I get to use up the rest of the infusions that I had for this. Did I say emulsion earlier? I might have done. Anyway, I meant infusion. You guys know what I mean. This is weird being back. You know what I mean? It's been a lot. And also, I'm really glad to be back, and I'm glad to be testing new scents. This came at like the best, most perfect time. Sierra Candles, when Dana sent these samples. It was the same day that I had already placed an order for stuff, and I think one of these at least was on that order already before I'd even seen that she had sent through samples. But 2, I have been in like wholesale hell right now. And it really does feel like all I'm doing is remaking the same soaps, like the same maybe dozen soaps with the same scents, just over and over again, you know? And so it's fun to play with new stuff. That has been something that year 4 has been really not fun for me with, because I'm doing kind of a more specialized, i.e., I don't know, get the glassy eye look and whatever, you know, I'm teaching a lot. I'm doing a lot of teaching within every single video instead of just doing playing. And so I think ultimately it would have been better if I just found a happy medium and didn't just do all the teaching and let's just info dump a whole bunch of information on you. Let's play with some random scents and let's play with some random designs. I didn't get to do a lot of that. So this came at the perfect time for me because I was in the mood to play. And so that's what we get to do with all of this. And so I'm glad that we get to be back and do it all together and we can see what all these scents do. Right off the bat, this is one of my favorite scents ever, this winter solstice. I think it's just absolutely delightful. So we will do the actual making of these soaps, or start to do it in the next video, because this one's already running kind of long and I still have more stuff to say to you, you know, with my face looking at you. So let's go back to my face thing. So a few important takeaways with all of this. First up, you definitely want to make sure that when you get a new scent in, you go and double check the soaping notes, which you probably already did if you ordered the scent. In my case, I didn't check any of that because these were sent to me. Second up, you want to check the actual data pages and make sure that the percentage is within what you would want to use for your soap in your Cat 9s. And third, figure out how strong essentially you want your soap scent to be while calculating based on the oil percentages. And that's going to be the biggest thing. The amount of oil that exists within your recipe is what you're really going to focus on, not the oil plus the water plus the lye. Because remember, when you have the water and the lye, well, the lye and the water, they work together, create a new thing to create the soap. And so those are consumed, right? and all the water that's excess in the batch, well, that eventually is gone because of the cure, and that's the whole point of cure. We're trying to make sure that the soaps, you lose all of its water weight. And so what remains is going to be what you want to actually focus your scent calculations on. Especially if you think about it, you see what I do for my water, right? I usually do a pretty copious amount of water, and a lot of people don't. And I do that because of the clays, etc., and so forth. But my water is going to be way more than perhaps yours in your recipe, which means if I'm calculating this scent amount usage off of the water plus the lye plus the entire batch, essentially, my scent is going to be lighter. So that would be something to always keep in mind. Do factor in your scent percentages based on your oils for sure. And all the rest of it, it was super fun. You know, it was cool doing that all and showing it to you. I'm sure that there were a lot of messages that popped up in my phone that I didn't manage to get out, or like notifications from Discord and stuff like that. Buddy, that was another thing that happened within all of this. I would continue to get messages on my phone, like announcements that, you know, something's coming in, notifications. That's what I'm looking for. And I would go to click on it, and my app wouldn't load. I'm getting the notification for the app, but it's not loading. Nothing's loading. Discord isn't loading. Instagram isn't loading. Facebook isn't loading. My Gmail isn't loading. Nothing was loading. And I didn't know what was going on, and it frustrated me to no end. So finally, I just got myself a new phone, and so that's on its way. But then when I was looking at this phone to see what kind of phone it was for the trade-in or whatever, I realized that I had 127 of 128 gigs used full on the phone. So that's probably why nothing was opening. So that was it. That was fun. But anyway, you probably saw a lot of messages. So that's cute. If you saw your name, you know, that's awesome. I know Twisted was in there for sure. And I think Riss says, anyway, I'm rambling. I'm rambling because it's good to be back. And I'm really excited to be back for sure. We are so back. We're absolutely cooking with gas. This is going to be a thing because tomorrow I actually have to make some soaps out of this whole process with you. We've designed the soaps. We're doing some cool moons, and we're going to make the first 2 in tomorrow's video. So come back for that. It's going to be awesome. I promise. It'll be a good time. We're going to have fun with all of that. For all of you who have been worried about me, thank you. That's really, really nice of you. Yeah, there were a lot of messages to keep up with. And by a lot, I'm talking like hundreds of people that reached out directly to make sure that everything was good. I'm sorry to make you guys worry or keep you waiting or all of the jazz. I just honestly don't ever think that I actually have that position of like you give a crap about, because why would you give a crap? I'm just me, you know? So I'm sorry for that. I will do better about updating for sure in the future. Sudsers, you're amazing. You're everything awesome. I know you guys are doing a lot of stuff. Everybody is just on full, let's get ready for the holiday season, full steam ahead. And I get it. It's totally awesome. I love to see it. We will talk about what that means for Project Soapway for the rest of the year, as well as what it means for content generally, probably in a live, because I need you guys. So I've been talking, and it's like that thing where somebody says a thing and you're like, yeah, sure, Jan, it's not going to happen. But I actually do need you guys for this huge video that I was also working on throughout basically the entirety of this year for the last 4 or 5 months for sure. Huge video. And now it's time to actually kind of put together all of the tests and all the things that I've made into what will be like my soapy opus. And so I need your help. And so we're going to do some live streams. And so look forward to that. And we'll talk more about all of the other things, you know, there in more videos, all the things. For right now, though, I'm going to go because this video ends up kind of long. And for those of you who stuck around for the long and for the end, hey, thank you. You should drop a purple heart. That's the first thing that came to mind for an emoji, because that's what I always use. You should drop a purple heart in the chat below or the comment section below, so I know that you stuck around and you're a real one. I appreciate it. I am going to go, but I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of moon infused. They're not infused. That's not moon water. I should have done moon water. I'll see you again then for another round of soapy fun. Bye.